you ever tried to make something work, like really work in your life, and it just wasn't sitting right? Not because it was wrong, not because you were wrong, but because it wasn't aligned. Welcome back to Loose Starts and Stitches, my friend. This episode continues the Enough chapter, which is our limited series exploring growth, identity, and the quiet hum of more in modern life. Here we go. We have talked about moving targets. We've talked about wiring. We've talked about capacity. We've talked about the stories that we build. We talked about labels. We've talked about play. We've talked about curating attention. And today we're going to bring all of that together. Next week is actually the very last episode of this limited series that we've been doing, and we have explored so much in so many deep areas, and I have loved it. If you've been following along, thank you so much. If something here resonates with you, sharing it with somebody that you care about is always, always, always appreciated. Okay, let's talk about mismatch. Not all environments suit all temperatures. Not all rhythms suit all nervous systems, and not all creative paths suit all personalities. When something feels hard, difficult, sometimes we can assume it's a personal flaw, something that is wrong with ourselves, but sometimes it's just simply a mismatch. Okay, this is a good lesson to learn, so stick with me here, okay? A fast pace doesn't suit everybody. High visibility doesn't suit everybody, especially my little introverts out there. Yes. Virtual high five to you, my friend, okay? Constant comparison doesn't suit everybody. And none of that says anything about your actual worth. It says something about your fit, okay? The way that it fits in your life. Let's think about design, okay? If a quilt pattern doesn't align with a particular fabric, okay? You find some random antique fabric and you are trying to make this, like, I don't know, let's just make something up, really big quilt pattern out of it. The issue is not going to be moral, like it doesn't fit. We're not going to be looking at morals. We're going to be looking at structure, okay? The stretch might be all wrong for the fabric that you're trying to do. The weight of the fabric might be completely off. The drape might not cooperate. That doesn't mean the fabric is defective. It means that it's not meant for that pattern. The pairing isn't ideal. And in creative work, we understand that easily. But I feel like in life, we often personalize it, right? Like we make it personal when something doesn't fit. You try to operate in a rhythm that drains you. You assume that you're weak. You attempt a path that exhausts you. You assume that you're incapable. But what if the question isn't, what is wrong with me? What if it's, what fits me? And I want to say fit can change over time, okay? What worked for one season might not work in another, all right? When I first started my quilting journey, my kids were little bitty. They were little bitty toddlers, still like running around in diapers, okay? My kids are teenagers now. Some time has passed, and it's a very different world, right? What energized you 5 years ago might overwhelm you right now. And we can't think of that as regression, right? That's evolution, not regression, evolution. And evolution doesn't always look like acceleration, okay? Sometimes it looks like recalibration. And side note, yes, I had really fun with the rhyming of those words, okay? But the message is still the same, okay? So allow me a little bit of fun with words there, okay? In quilting, if something doesn't sit right, you adjust. You resize it, you swap out different fabrics, you redesign it, you might even get out the dreaded seam ripper and fix it, okay? You don't shame the material. I'm gonna take that back. You might shame the material. Like, why did you do that, right? No, you know it wasn't the material's fault in most cases, right? You're going to redesign the layout. You're going to make it work. That's wisdom. That's taking a problem and fixing it. But I want to tell you and challenge you that maybe life allows for that same gentleness. Maybe struggle sometimes signals redesign, not self-repair. Not thinking there's something wrong with me, but worth taking a look at, okay, what's not fitting in here? What needs to be reworked? What needs to have a redesign, right? So if you've been feeling like you can't keep up, before assuming that you are incapable and there are flaws with you, I want you to ask yourself, is this aligned with how I'm wired? I've been doing a lot of that just in my own life, thinking about what it is that really sits at the heart of my soul, what I desire, what I want. Is this something I want to work on? Is this a hobby that I want to pursue? I already have so many, you know, like I want to do what really is aligned with me. And is this rhythm sustainable for me? Okay. Is this version of success actually mine? Because it's very common for you to kind of take like an accumulation of what other people see as success and create your own like modeled together version of it. But it's not actually your version of success, right? It's what you think that you should want. And sometimes that target or that success, it isn't wrong, okay? It's just not yours. Recognizing that is a hard thing to do, especially when you've invested a lot of time into it and a lot of thinking and just dreaming in the way that we creatives do, right? But being able to recognize that is a power. It's not a loud power. It's not a rebellious power. It is just a clear power. So you are allowed to adjust the pattern in quilting and in life. You are allowed to redesign your rhythm. You are allowed to choose environments that suit your wiring. You are allowed to grow. You are allowed also to decide when you feel finished. And I want to give you some life, like real life examples of this so you don't feel like I'm just throwing all this information at you and it's not actually like you don't have a container to put it in, okay? So if you have, let's say I love quilters. I know tons of them. I know people who can quilt and finish 14 quilts in a month. Not even lying, okay? And then there are people who are still on like quilt number 1, 2, or 3, and it's been like that many years. Like the whole spectrum is out there, okay? And if you compare that quilter's skills to the other quilter's skills, it's not going to match up, right? They're going to be very different places in their journey. And in life as well, like one of them may be retired. One of them may have a house full of children. You know, there are people out there who are full-time caregivers. There are people who work full-time, who work second jobs in the evenings. There are people who live alone. There are people who live with, you know, grandchildren in the house as well. And like, I don't know, there's so many differences out there, okay? So you cannot logically think that you should have the same goals as everybody else out there, right? That's just a quick real world example. But next week is going to be the closing of the Enough chapter. It'll be our last one. I have had such a good time with this. I have loved sharing these deep moments with you. If you can think of anything that you would love to have on this podcast, share some ideas with me down in the comment section. I read all the comments. I love, love, love hearing from you. And I would love to get some new ideas getting into the flow for where the Loose Threads and Stitches podcast is going from here. Don't get me wrong. I have tons of things to talk about, but I would love to hear from you. So closing today, maybe the question isn't, am I failing? But maybe it is more of a, does this fit? Right? So Thanks so much again for tuning into the Loose Threads and Stitches podcast. I am your host, Kristen, with ISeeStarsQuilting.com. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Go out there, create something absolutely beautiful. The world needs more pretty things in the world to just bring a smile to other people's faces. So I will see you next time. Have a great day. Bye.